Brad Bradley is a busy man at all times. He is the athletic director and football coach at Heritage High School. I told Coach Bradley once football season really gets kicking, I'll stop annoying him with these throwback questions and back in the day questions because I know he gets zoned in. I told coaches I will not interview them during their season about this type of stuff. We'll wait till the quote-unquote the off season, even though the VHSL goes all the time now. But last week I had a chance to catch up with him during the dead period. I talked with the athletic director / head football coach at Heritage High School. We talked about memories with Brad Bradley. We talked about some of the firsts. We go all the way back to Gilmer County, West Virginia. We go all the way down to Naruna, Virginia, and talk about William Campbell. Brad Bradley talks about that. He talks about relationships. He talks about the people who have helped him coach. It's Brad Bradley on the Sports Buffet podcast.
You know, we're enjoying dead period right now for another week. And then we crank it up here on July the 6th.
How relaxing is dead period for
It's good. It's good and it's bad. Some of these young coaches complained about it being 2 weeks. They changed it to 2 weeks a couple of years ago. But I think that, number one, coaches need it. Number two, I think kids need it. You know, I think that's one of the mistakes a lot of these younger coaches make is they don't give the kids enough time off. You know, one of the things that we've always believed in, and it's for a long time, maybe 15, 16, 18, 20 years. We only go 4 days a week. We go Monday through Thursday, all right, in the summer, and then we give them Friday. I try to never take a Saturday and a Sunday away from them. And I think it gives the kids a chance to be a kid. I think they get a little rest. I think this 2 week dead period, they get a chance to kind of do things they've never done. You look at some of these kids, man, if they play basketball, if they played baseball, they ran track, like a lot of our kids play football, basketball, and then track. Well, wouldn't have they ever had a life, you know? So now this 2 week dead period, and then the last week of school, you know, they had a chance to kind of relax a little bit. I think it gives them a chance to recharge their battery. I think more importantly, it gives these coaches a chance to recharge their batteries.
We're going to talk a lot about your assistant coaches that you have had, but one thing, as a head football coach, not as an AD, but as a head football coach, how much do you like your kids participating in another sport like a track, especially?
I mean, I've always been, I guess, you know, way back in the day at William Campbell, you know, maybe my first 3 years, because of where the program was at that point in time in terms of basketball, I probably didn't encourage my kids to play basketball. But I think except maybe 2 or 3 years, that was way back 25, 26 years ago, I have tried to encourage every kid to play every sport. You know, here we have kids that play basketball. We have kids that play baseball. We have a lot of kids that run track. You know, we have kids that do certain things. You know, we had a kid this year that was in 2 plays. You know, we want them to do everything.
But it seems like track's always been the big thing because you can strengthen yourself with weight room, throwing, running. Am I right or wrong on that?
Yeah, yes and no. You know, what we've done here is we've changed the way we do our weightlifting. We try to do it during school, so our kids don't have to be late to track practice or have to choose between track and football, so on and so forth. And that's helped us a lot. But track is also, it's a really good, I mean, any sport is good for kids.
Right.
I mean, a lot of football coaches don't want their kids to play basketball. That's crazy. Where are you going to go and get more agility than basketball? You know, jumping, running, changing directions. You know, I like to see my kids compete. I want to see what they're like competing in something other than football. So, you know, we really want to see them do everything. You know, we have a defensive end this year, Jay Scott, Brad Scott's brother. He's going to be a sophomore. He's going to be really good. But Jay could potentially be a 3-sport athlete and be a football, basketball, and swim. And, you know, right now he's in summer swim league and doing a great job. And I think that's great, man. Any of these kids get a chance to do something else and give themselves an opportunity to experience something else, I think is great. Plus, you look at college coaches, you talk to any college coach, they're not going to want a kid that's just football.
Right.
They're going to want to see them doing other things. You know, Elijah Davis got recruited, you know, about when he committed to ODU, one of the biggest things, their running back coach at the time, his name was Coach Bankins. Coach Bankins was huge on his ability to play basketball. He wasn't the greatest basketball player in the world, but he was a hustler. He played defense. You know, he would sell out. He would do all the things that you're looking at as a really good football player on the basketball court. So you can kind of tell who a competitor is, who a competitor is not, and when they're playing other sports also.
Yeah, I've always heard people want to see how are you when you're not the superstar type of thing.
Exactly, and that's another thing. I wish we had more kids that played baseball here. You know, baseball has been a sport that's been struggling a little bit. And we have a kid, our center, Trust and Love. We call him Breakfast. He played on the baseball team this year, did a really good job. And we weren't the best baseball team. We just had a JV team this year. So we got a lot better this year. But you start to see a kid when they're not in the comfort zone. And I think that builds character, his sophomore year, I don't think we won, but maybe 2 or 3 games. This year, we won more than we lost because we were in the JV part of it. But I started to see, a lot of these kids grow because of how they dealt with losses differently and so on and so forth. So I think sports in general, man, is good for kids. Kids that compete, kids that learn how to win and lose. And here's the thing in this life, if you don't lose, if you don't fail, you can never appreciate what it means to win or succeed. And you show me anybody that's a champion or anybody that's a success in any business, you're also going to show me at the same time somebody that's failed way more than they've succeeded. And you talk about business. People that are good business people, they probably failed a lot more than they succeeded. But they learn how to just stay in the game, keep working their butts off, and not giving up and keep coming back. And that's what sports are all about.
Before we get into the assistant coaches, football-wise, what is the best moment you treasure ever? Is it the first state title?
And there's a lot of them. You said that. You kind of put that vision in my head. That was pretty special. First title ever at William Campbell. We had –
and you're a young guy too.
Yeah, I was 26 years old. And, we had a whole community there. Naruna was there. I remember we got a picture holding up the trophy on the middle of the field. Man, that place was full. Cold night at JMU. And, I think that was probably one of my best memories. And the biggest reason, though, is because my dad was on the sidelines for the last 6-7 minutes of the game. The game had already been won. And we got a chance to get down there and kind of get with him. And it was a special day. But there's a lot of them, man. I look back and just off the top of my head, I look back at my first victory at Gilmer County High School. I still got the thing up there. We're playing Wirt County. It was September 13th, 1996. First win I ever had as a head coach. And at that point in time, it was one of those things that I decided to do things my way. When I took over the job, I kind of listened to my dad and kind of leaned on some of the stuff that Willis White, Salem, we were going to run the eye. We're going to establish the run. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We had a bye week. I was 0-2, and we had a bye week. We'd scored 0 points in 2 weeks. We'd gotten beat 20-0 and 20-0. So I'd been beat 40-0 over the last 2 weeks combined. And during that off week, I said, you know what? Forget this eye crap. We're going to spread the ball out. And we didn't have great athletes. We're going to spread it out. And we came back, and that was our first victory. We ended up winning 2 more that year. Ended up going 5-5 in 1997, having the first non-losing season in school history. So, there's a lot of them. I look at the state championship here. I thought that was a special day. Bert Torrance and I talk about it all the time. Coach Eric and I talk about it all the time. I mean, that was a special day here. I also look back at some of the, the overtime, one overtime win we had against EC Glass here. I look at the overtime win we had this past year against Jefferson Forest. I look at, the big win we had at the state semifinals in 2012 against Salem. It's just a lot of things, man. I look back at Lord Botetourt, man. I'll never forget Josh Alavito, quarterback. And we won 7 ball games, made it to the playoffs, ended up getting beat by Rustburg that year. That was the year they won the state championship. But it's just a lot of things, man. I remember Anthony Ford, Botetourt won the first time we beat Northside forever. I think the longer I'm in this game, I start to appreciate a lot of things a lot more. When it comes to victories, there for the longest time, I probably didn't appreciate winning a district championship, winning a region, getting a chance to get in the playoffs, playing in a state championship game. All those things that come along with winning, I probably didn't appreciate enough. And we had to fail. 23, we were 6-4, 6-5. We get beat in the first round of playoffs. You start to appreciate playing in the second round a lot more. So I think that sometimes you got to fail. I At Gilmer County, we were 8-12 over my 2 years there. We had to fail so you could appreciate the win. And I think that's the same thing we just talked about.
I hate to be that guy, but is there a worse moment that sticks with you?
I mean, I think, losing state championships, all of them. I mean, I feel like in 2012 and 2022, we really didn't have a shot. Briarwood was just that much better than us. We could have played them 10 times. They'd have beat us 10 times. 2022, Phoebus, they'd beat us 10 times. In my 15 years here at Heritage, my three worst memories are every time we've lost to Glass. We lost to them in 2017. We lost to them in 23 and 24. We've won 13. We've lost 3, right? Those 3, I'm never going to forget. Those 13, they're great, but I'm never going to get those 3. So I guess that'd be part of it. Like, I guess, I remember I'll never forget this. I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 2000. It was 2005. We won the state championship eventually, but we were banged up. And William Campbell, we're banged up. We're in the game 9. We're against Gretna. You know how big that game.
I think you dropped the last 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Dropped the last 2.
Yeah, okay.
Don't do that to us.
Chatham was one of them.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, people that think and EC Glass and Heritage is a great rivalry. Great rivalry. People don't want to believe though that we made more money and we have more people at the Heritage Gretna game. At the William Campbell Gretna games back in the day than we did to these games. We made more money with $5 tickets than we make now with $8 tickets. And it was packed. Back when Cedric Pierman, Vic Hall, Shea Boyd, Danny Broggan, Vernon Vassell, some of these guys were playing. So we're in 2008. Matt Barber banged his ankle a little bit. We've had, this and that. We had a lead. And we fumbled. And they get the ball, drive it, score to beat us. All right. Then the next week, we get beat Chatham. So we're limping. We're limping in the playoffs. We had 3 or 4 starters hurt. Played as bad as we could play against Chatham. Coach Fouts, God rest his soul, no longer with us. Did a great job that year. They're a really good football team, but we found a way to overcome that. But those are some times that was hard to lose. I mean, I remember losing one at Gilmer County. We went for 2. We were down 8-6, and went for a field goal because we're about the 15-yard line. We tried to kick a field goal, and the daggone thing basically hit the crossbar, popped out. So, I mean, the losses stick with you forever. I can sit here and probably name more losses than I could wins. But I'd say that some of the biggest ones are losing to Glass in my 15 years here, the 3 times we've lost.
And to me, the ones that you have to send off seniors probably, to me, it feels like they hurt because I remember that one when you're at Campbell against Riverheads, when you're leading late, a fumble happens and then things just went.
It wasn't a fumble. It was, we're leading by 10 with 3 minutes and 3 seconds to go in the game. And we, as a team at that point in time, I'll tell them this every day, we felt like we'd already won the game. And they scored and cut it to 3. And I could see our effort on the extra point. I said, well, we better get ready. We're going to get our butts kicked. And we got the ball. And we just scored, went up by 10. We kicked the ball off. We don't even have a corner on the field. We had a bonehead play, corner. They had a big pass and put them in scoring zone. They score. Now we're only down by 3 with about 2 minutes to go, right? They kick us the ball, and, we don't do anything with it. And I don't know if we punt, we might have had an interception, fumble, whatever. And we gave it up. Like, we had chances to win, and those are hard too. But, there's a lot of them. I mean, but again, that was something we put in our locker room for all the next year, 3 minutes and 3 seconds. We had to score. We lived by that. Then what happened was, we got a chance to get them again the year later and, got to beat them. So, again, sometimes you got to fail before you succeed. And unfortunately, a lot of young kids, they don't understand that. They think failing once is it. They think that's the end of the world. I look at some of the teams, even in college. You look at Florida State 2 years ago. They lost their first couple games. They quit.
Yeah.
Kids, I'm going to go to the portal. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And we have it here. I mean, we got beat by Glass in 2024, 9th game of the year. And we had to fight our butts off to beat Brookville in the 10th game of the year. And, kind of it was kind of one of those things that took us a while to get over. And you got to fail. You got to lose to win.
Yep.
And you're never going to win big games without losing. I get a great example. 2018, we went to Northside, and they literally kicked our butts. I think the score was
like 63-24, I think.
I can look it up right here. It was 61-26. And our kids didn't complain. They didn't whine. They didn't cry. And I knew we had a chance to win a state championship that year, and we did. We ended up winning the rest of them. And, it was just one of those tributes to what, our kids could do. And again, we would never won the state championship without getting our butt kicks in the second, third week of the season. And now you got to keep kids the way this whole thing works now is kids they just want to give up. I'm not playing here. Let me transfer. I'm not doing this. Let me quit. It's not an option. If you don't think that quitting is an option, then you got a chance to win. And I think that that's the biggest thing right now for young people is understanding that sometimes you got to win. I mean, you got to lose or you got to fail in order to succeed or win.
Yeah, I'm with you. Culture hadn't done a good job of, failing. Got to be not an option, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, final question before we talk about assistant coaches. If I told you, and I know you're not a big social media guy, but if you put a social media and you put hashtag never forget, what's that one thing, not football related, that you're never forgetting? It can be an event in your own personal life. It can be a national event.
I've never, just off the top of my head, man, I'm never going to forget the times I had to put my dogs down. I mean, I can still sit down. Back in my dad, I had a Great Dane named Wilson that had been with me and when I was at Gilmer County, and he ended up living with my dad. My dad couldn't put him down. I put him down. I can still remember, putting down all my dogs, Chase, Ginger. I can remember putting down Baxter, Chanel. I mean, that's just something I'll never forget. That's something that stays with me. And I'll never forget, like this, just, he's not going to be here for the rest of my life, but I'll never forget the times I've been with my dad, and it kind of is football related, but, I remember when my dad won the state championship as a wrestling coach in 1977, and I was literally 4 years old. I remember that. I'll never forget that. I'll also never forget, I hate to go back, and this is the theme of this thing. I'll never forget walking off the field, getting my butt kicked, not butt kicked, but losing in 1991 to Spotsylvania, 27-31, the state championship game. And I'll never forget walking out of that stadium and looking around and saying, man, this is the worst thing ever. I'll never forget that. And that fueled my fire, to want to be able to be there. And I'll never forget, I know I'm going back to football, but I'll never forget in the same situation, we lost that thing at Salem back in 1991, but when we won it, even in 2002, 2005, and 2018, just looking up and saying, man, this is special. Every time we've been able to play in a state championship games, which fortunately I've been able to chance to coach in 6 of them, man, you just kind of look up there and it's a surreal situation. So those are things I'll never forget.
Let's talk about people you coached with. How'd you meet John Eric?
Coach Eric, Rod Smith, good friend of mine, which is now currently the offensive coordinator at Marshall. Before that, he was offensive coordinator at Arizona, offensive coordinator at Illinois under Lovie Smith. He was co-offensive coordinator at WU. He's been at South Florida. He's been a little bit everywhere. And at that point in time, I had called him back in 2000 when I got the job. Hey, man, you know anybody that be interested in being an O-line coach? He said, yeah, I got a guy, older guy on my staff. He was at Urbana College at the time in Ohio. So Coach Eric drove down about 11 hours at that point in time, got the interview. I liked him a lot. And, the rest is history. 26 years later, this year will be our 27th year together. Actually 28th year together. And he's done a great job. And, there's times we fight, right? We go at it. Anybody on my staff, Jay Ferris has been on my staff for a long time. He'll tell you, we're going to go at it.
But that's okay.
That's fine.
Because most relationships are going to have.
And at the end of the day, you ain't always got to agree with people. You just got to, you got to overcome it. And also, another thing, go back to a part of this society is our feelings, they do matter. I'm not saying feelings don't matter, but it's one of those situations, get over it. We figure it out. We hash it out. It is what it is. But when the apocalypse comes, if it ever comes, and I need somebody to go in a foxhole with me, I'm pulling that big fat guy down with me every time. That dude's had my back. We don't always agree on everything. We don't always do things the right way or the same way, but we have the same goal, and that is to, A, win football. We're not going to say A, make young men out of young boys, B, win football games, and C, do it the right way.
But I think the thing, too, is like on that, if y'all get into an argument on Monday on the football field, I don't hate Bradley on Tuesday.
No, we don't hate each other about it. I mean,
right. You get where I'm going.
We used to live in apartments together when we used to coach William Campbell. We'd fight like cats and dogs and be riding with each other on the way home. Right. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, and that's what I think some people don't. I mean, you can be mad at somebody, but you got to get over it. You know, that those are some things. But, and at the end of the day, man, I don't want a staff that's just a yes staff.
Right.
I want guys that want to express their ideas, and I want them to coach, and, we've had guys here that challenge all the time. That's great. Now, if they're challenged under our system, and I can handle that all the time, if they want to change everything, then, that's probably going to be a problem. They're probably not going to coach here long. But for me, if you've coached here, I think, A, they'll agree I'll let them coach. B, we're going to have a whole lot of fun. C, I am the head coach. If they want to be a head coach, then they can go get that HC in front of their name. But I don't push that around a lot unless I have to.
But you want to make other people to where, hey, I coached with Bradley. Bradley's going to make me a head coach. You get where I'm going with that?
I don't care about somebody being a head coach. That's not my job.
Okay.
But I am going to do, if you want to be a head coach, I'm hoping I'm going to help you, give you the experience that you can be a head coach if you want to eventually. But when people say, well, do you want your guys to, that's not I don't have anything to do with their thought process. Like, I'm not going to say, hey, man, I want you with coaching with me, so one day you'll be a head coach and make me look good. No, I don't. But
if you had a guy that wanted to be a head coach, you're going to teach
I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him to all district meetings. Okay. I'm going to talk to him about all region meetings. I'm going to give him as much information as I possibly can. I got guys on my staff right now. Jay Ferris has been a head coach. He knows what that's all about. Corey Davis has been a head coach. Coach Washburn, he's an aspiring head coach. There's guys on our staff that have either been or going to want to be a head coach. Are going to be very good, and I'll help them any way I can. But at the end of the day, and I've gotten past, hey, I got to do this or I got to do that. I've let my coaches coach. You know what I mean? Now we got decisions to make, and I'm not also that person that's going to say, hey, we made this decision on 4th and 1 way or the other. I'm not going to point that finger at that coach. It's my decision, right? Even if I listen to that coach, it's still my decision. So it's my responsibility whether it went good or whether it went bad.
Outside of Coach Eric, talk about some of the early guys that kind of went through it with you at William Campbell a little bit. Because I remember Coach Sherman.
Coach Sherman was a roommate of mine and hired him. He was a co-defensive coordinator with Coach Matt Versluis. And, man, they were awesome. Matt Versluis was the head coach at Patrick County, and I was able to get him over there with us. And they were co-coordinators in 2002. Great dudes. Quarterback coach Danny Roberts coached for us for like 7 or 8 years. Dwayne Hamlet was on our staff there for 8 years at William Campbell. PJ Preston, which is over here at Liberty, the pastor over here, and he's pastor of his own church. He was on our staff in 2000 at William Campbell.
Did you see something in Sherman and Roberts and people like that made you want them, or did they?
I wanted Sherman because I'd already shared a foxhole with him as a teammate for 3 years at Plumble State, and so I knew all about him. Versluis, I saw him coach over at Patrick County. I kind of got to know him a little bit, knew he'd work out well. Danny Roberts is a guy that was there when I got there, and he was a good fit. When I got the PH, and what was that, 2009. I got rid of everybody except Jay Ferris, and I kept Jay. And I just knew what he was all about. He's ended up being an unbelievable, hell of a coach for me. Just unbelievable coach for me. He coached with me, defense coordinator for 2 years at PH. Then came back on staff over here after being a head coach at William Campbell, taking him to the playoffs, and then being an offensive coordinator or co-offensive coordinator at Stanton River, and helped run the defense when we beat them in 2017. The state semifinal game was probably one of the best games ever in high school football. Unbelievable. And then now he was our D-line coach 17, 18, 19, and 20. Took over the defense coordinator's job here in 21 and 22. Stepped away with family for his family in 23, 24. Then came back this year. No ego whatsoever. stepped in with Coach Washburn and as defensive coordinator and did a great job and is going to help out with us this year. And still coaching linebackers. So, those are kind of guys that I think Dane Washburn is an unbelievable coach. He's a guy that probably did not believe in our system when he first came in, because he had done things differently. And not only does he believe, he's expanded it, done a great job. I can't sit here and talk about great assistant coaches without talking about Bert Torrance.
Right.
That's my guy. He was a head coach, won a state championship in 2009, won a state championship in 2013, showed me a lot of things that, that I still do now. And, again, him and I didn't do things exactly the same, but we learned a lot from each other. I learned a lot of football from him. And I'll tell you this right now. I mean, guys that coach for us are guys that want to win and want to work. I'm going to take a guy that you probably don't even, know him, but he was only with me for 22, 23, 24, and 25. Ben Alexander. Mm-hmm. Ben Alexander played at University of Liberty. He's from Pennsylvania. Man, that dude's just a worker. He's just a worker. He just worked his butt off and did everything right. Corey Davis, current on my staff right now. Corey was here with me for a little bit, went to be a head coach, realized what it was like to be a head coach, just came back. Unbelievable coach right now. He's my special teams coordinator. He's our running backs coach, coaches our defensive backfield along with his brother, Chris Megison, and he drives the bus, does anything you ask him to do. I mean, that's what coaching is all about. People don't understand. X's and O's, that's easy. Like anybody can sit there and draw a play up, right? The hardest thing about coaching is understanding the grind, man. You got to clean the jerseys. You got to clean the locker room. You got to drive the bus. You got to do this. You got to do that. I'm very fortunate to have a bunch of guys, especially right now on my staff, that number one, believe in me, because you got to believe in the head coach. You got to see the vision. Number two, that believe in our kids. And number three, believe in our program. And they're going to do things that not a lot of people give them credit for. Yeah, there's a lot of people just want to put a headphone on the sidelines. Hey, I want to call signals. I want to call myself. I want to have that title. There are not too many people that want to clean the locker room behind closed doors, that want to stay here late, that want to do things that nobody sees. And that's what coaching is all about. And that's where kids see that too.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I think people outside who think, practice is over at 5, coach leaves at 5:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, they don't want to see us on the weekends because
right.
We don't leave here till late on Fridays and here all day on Sundays.
And you've talked about it before. You're not an easy person to play for, and you're also probably not an easy person to coach for. I don't think that's an insult, but why would you say Brad Bradley's tough to coach with and play for, or would you?
I don't know about coach with. I think coach with, we're on the same wavelength. We're going to be fine. You know what I'm saying?
We talked about it off the record before about time commitment is a big thing with you.
Time commitment is a big thing. I think that's one, but I've also grown a lot in my older age. I mean, I've got coaches that have kids. We have our kids, our coaches bring their kids here. We've set it up even with Coach Ferris, defense coordinator, where he went home on Friday night so he could take care of his kids. And we did stuff, almost by Zoom, or he did the work. So we've made some different accommodations. You got to grow. There's a great quote, and I don't know who said it, but I'm gonna give the guy, the head coach at Ohio State, Day, what's his name, Ryan Day. He said it about 4 years ago. You got to adapt or die.
Yep.
And I've had to figure out, not as much time, this or that, but we're still going to work. But I think the biggest thing is I'm probably hard to coach for because I'm not going to go away from what we do. We're a 4-3 defense. We're a 4-3 defense. Right. We're going to work off a 4-3 defense. We're not just going to all of a sudden throw out a 4-2-5. We want to be a 4-2-5 team. Like, that's not what we're going to do. Right. We're going to do the 4-3. Now, if we can have ideas in the 4-3 that fit what we do in our system, we're going to do it. And we're a spread team on offense. Like, we've got certain things, but I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't need to look cool. I don't need to call out formations by a 21 personnel or 12 personnel. I still say twins right, twins left, quads, 2x2. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try to impress anybody because my kids, I know the people I need to impress is my kids, and I need them to understand what's going on. So I think the only time that I would have an issue with somebody coaching is somebody that wants to reinvent the wheel. I have no problem having your own ideas. I have no problem changing things. I have no problem with that at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm not the stubborn guy, but you're going to have to prove to me that it fits in our system and it works. Does that make sense?
It does.
And I'm not just going to if you're about titles and if you're about, hey, I want to look cool on Friday nights, that's probably not going to work out. But if you're just willing to grind and everything kind of falls in place, and that's what it's all about. And I got a bunch of guys right now that just want to grind.
I think a lot of people outside of your immediate circle are going to remember you for you kind of brought the spread to the Central Virginia Lynchburg area, and a lot of people have said, "Wow, we got to." I've talked to other coaches who've said, "Wow, I've never had to defend this before, and now he's doing all types of things I've got to defend." But I take it when you're gone or stop coaching or whatever, you care more about what your kids think than anybody else out there.
Well, I mean, I will tell you this: when I came to Botetourt in 1998, nobody was running shotgun spread.
Right.
Nobody. I mean, maybe up north, but Southwest Virginia here. I'll tell you what. Take that back. There was a guy at Hayside. Man, I can't remember his name right now, but he was doing some stuff.
Where did you get it from? I don't know.
Rich Rodriguez.
Okay.
I played for Rich Rod,
Right.
and that's where I decided after that first two losses, trying to do things the old-fashioned way and pound it. I wasn't. That wasn't who I was, and I didn't have personnel for that. So we started going to the spread. You know, I played for Rich Rod. We were 2x2, 4 wide receivers. Now I've gone down to a little bit more of a tight end, hip back, H back type situation. But nobody knew how to do it. It kind of changed defenses. I was a 53 guy under Willis White. I learned the 53 out of Willis White. Well, you can't run the 53. Vic Hall from Gretna ran me out of the 53. He made me go to a odd stack. He made me go to a 3-2, two safety high. He made me. I didn't have a choice. I tried my best to play a 5-3. And what that ends up being is a 5-1-3 when you look at it, you break it down. And we couldn't play Vic Hall with a 1 high safety. I couldn't play Vic Hall with 6 safeties. But
you ain't the only one.
No, but it did. It changed things. But it's kind of the same way when Rich Rod came into college football. Nobody was really running what he's doing, and that's who I got it from. But now, I'm definitely not an innovator, man. I steal from all these young coaches, and people are doing great things, RPO stuff. Some things that sometimes I wish I could steal more. But we like to do what we do.